The last thing Ethan remembered was fire. A burning white-hot blast tearing through the corridor of the alien battleship as alarms wailed like dying beasts. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was only a human engineer assigned to a diplomatic escort, nothing more. But destiny rarely waits for permission. Princess Liora of the Elyndari Empire had been beside him when the explosion hit. One second she was speaking calmly about star navigation crystals, and the next, a rogue plasma charge detonated from below the deck. Ethan didn't think, didn't plan, he simply moved. He threw himself between the explosion and the princess, the shockwave slamming into his back like a burning hammer. He felt bones crack, skin sear, and then nothing. Darkness swallowed him. When Ethan opened his eyes again, he wasn't on the battleship floor. Instead, he lay on a glowing silver bed, surrounded by towering alien figures dressed in shimmering robes. Their skin glowed faint blue, their gazes sharp with equal parts awe and confusion. An entire alien court stared at him as though he'd performed a miracle. He tried to sit up, but a soft hand pressed against his chest. "Please don't move," said a familiar voice. Princess Liora. Her luminous eyes held an emotion he couldn't place. Grief, relief, and something deeper. Her royal armor was gone, replaced by ceremonial robes of brilliant white. Ethan realized with a jolt that the aliens around him weren't ordinary. Attendants, they were nobles, council members, and advisors. This was the royal court of Elyndar. "You are in the celestial hall," Liora said softly. "The heart of our empire. You saved my life. That blast was meant for me." Ethan blinked. "Your court? Your empire? Why am I here?" An elder stepped forward. His voice was ancient yet strong. "Because no Elyndari warrior, no shield bearer, no guardian has ever done what you did. You stood between death and our future empress." "Future empress?" Ethan's heart skipped. Liora lowered her eyes. "My coronation is in 7 days. And the factions who seek to end my bloodline tried to eliminate me early." Ethan swallowed. "So bringing me here was a reward?" Another elder shook his head. "Not a reward. A summons. You are now bound to the royal bloodline through your act of sacrifice. Tradition demands your presence, human." Ethan frowned. "Presence for what?" Liora stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "For the trial of guardianship. And whether you want it or not, you might have just become the protector of an entire empire." The court watched silently as Ethan struggled to comprehend his new fate. The blast might have changed his life, but waking in an alien court was only the beginning. Ethan walked beside Princess Liora through long crystalline corridors that seemed to glow with their own heartbeat. Every step felt heavier than the last. Alien nobles drifted behind them like silent shadows, their robes whispering against the floor. Some regarded him with curiosity, others with suspicion, and a few with open disdain. Ethan didn't blame them. He was a human mechanic who had stumbled into the center of an empire's most sacred tradition. "Why do they keep staring at me like I'm a mistake?" Ethan finally asked under his breath. Liora's voice was soft but steady. "Because no outsider has ever taken part in the trial of guardianship. Elyndari warriors trained from childhood for this honor. You jumped in front of a plasma blast without thinking." She glanced at him. "They fear what they cannot understand." Ethan gave a dry laugh. "Story of humanity." They reached a vast gate pulsing with blue energy. 2 guards in ceremonial armor stood before it, towering like metal giants. One lifted his spear and spoke in a deep, resonant voice that vibrated through Ethan's bones. "Present the candidate." Ethan sighed. "Still didn't apply for this job." Liora ignored him gently and stepped forward. "Ethan of Terra, the one who shielded me with his life. I present him for the trial." The gates opened with a thunderous hum, revealing the celestial arena, an enormous circular platform, suspended over a cosmos-filled abyss. Thousands of Elyndari sat in floating stands, eyes shining like distant stars. Some whispered. Some frowned. A few looked hopeful. Above them, a voice boomed. "Let the trial begin." There were 3 trials, 3 tests that defined the worthiness of a guardian. Trial 1, the Gauntlet of Echoes. Illusory warriors formed around Ethan, tall, elegant figures armed with energy spears. They attacked with impossible speed. Ethan had no training, no weapon, just raw determination. He dodged and countered with desperate instinct, feeling every hit rattle his bones. But he stood his ground. Humanity had survived worse than holographic warriors. He refused to fall. Trial 2, the Chamber of Truth. Ethan stood in an endless white void. Whispers rose around him. his fears, his doubts, his failures. The chamber tested the core of his soul. Ethan spoke through the storm. I didn't save Liora because she's a princess. I saved her because she was in danger. That's it. The whispers ceased. The chamber accepted him. Trial 3, the Heart of Stars. A colossal creature of pure energy rose before him. A guardian spirit shaped from living starlight. It roared, the heat scorching the air. No Elyndari had ever faced it without collapsing. Ethan didn't fight. He walked toward it with an open hand. Easy. I'm not here to harm anyone. The beast paused, then lowered its head and dissolved into light. Silence fell over the arena. Liora ran to him, eyes wide with awe. Ethan, you passed. No outsider has ever done this. But high above them, hidden in the shadows. The celebration began the moment Ethan passed the final trial. But the joy in the celestial arena lasted only minutes. As the citizens cheered and the nobles murmured in disbelief, Ethan noticed something strange. Liora's expression had dimmed. She seemed relieved but also worried. As they walked back toward the inner palace, she kept looking over her shoulder. Liora, he whispered, what's wrong? She hesitated. The one who tried to kill me is still here, and they won't stop. Before Ethan could ask more, the palace doors slid open into the Hall of Ascension, an enormous chamber of swirling blue light. The entire royal court waited inside. At the center stood the High Regent, Liora's uncle, a tall, sharp-eyed Elyndari whose smile never touched his eyes. Princess Liora, the regent said smoothly, you returned successful, and your human has survived. Remarkable. Ethan didn't like his tone. Liora bowed stiffly. The trials were honored. Ethan is now recognized as my guardian. Murmurs spread across the hall. Some nobles nodded respectfully. Others whispered with offense. But the High Regent only chuckled. A guardian? A human guardian. He stepped closer to Ethan. You protected her once, yes. But can you protect an empire? Can you protect her from enemies far greater than a single blast? Ethan met his gaze. I'll protect her from anyone, no matter who they are. The regent's eyes flashed, just for a moment, with unmistakable hatred. Liora inhaled sharply. Ethan understood immediately. The enemy wasn't hidden in the shadows. He was standing right in front of them. Suddenly the lights dimmed. Energy rippled through the hall. Guards rushed forward, weapons raised, but it was already too late. The regent activated a device on his wrist, an unstable pulse emitter. Raw plasma surged outward, tearing cracks into the floor. For too long, the regent snarled. Our people have been weakened by peace. The empire needs a ruler forged in war, not a fragile princess who hides behind outsiders. He pointed at Ethan, especially not a human. The pulse wave shot toward Liora. Ethan reacted instantly. With a shout, he dove, grabbed Liora, and rolled behind a fallen column as the blast carved a crater into the floor. Guards clashed with the regent's loyalists. The palace erupted into chaos. Ethan stood, heart racing. Liora, stay behind me. I'm ending this. She grasped his arm. You don't have to fight him alone. I know, Ethan said, but I'm your guardian. This is what I do. He sprinted forward, dodging energy blasts, closing the distance between him and the regent. The alien noble swung a staff crackling with power, but Ethan caught his wrist and slammed him against the crystal platform. The emitter fell from his hand and shattered. Your rule ends here, Ethan growled. The regent collapsed as guards swarmed him. Silence fell. Liora stepped forward, eyes shining, not with fear but pride. Ethan of Terra, you saved me twice. You saved our empire.